Ever have those days where you're like, all right, this is it. I'm going to crush my to-do list. I'm going to be so productive.
And suddenly,
Pray.
bam, it's 3 in the afternoon.
You're down the rabbit hole of cute animal videos.
Yep, that's my life. And it all comes back to discipline, which is what we're diving deep on today. We're tackling how to unlock that superpower, and we've got some really interesting research to share. Plus, we've got actionable strategies for our listeners to finally escape procrastination and reach their goals.
Because honestly, it doesn't have to be about becoming some superhuman, always-on robot. It's about understanding why discipline can feel impossible sometimes. And of course, it's about having the tools to make it a little easier, make it fit with life you want. Love it when things get easier. So let's get real. Why is discipline such a struggle? Sometimes it feels like my brain is literally working against me.
Well, it kind of is. Our brains are wired for instant gratification. What that means is we're programmed to go for the easy, enjoyable option in the moment. That's how we're wired, right?
Okay, so like back in the caveman days,
Exactly.
our ancestors weren't worried about deadlines or budgets. It was all about surviving right here, right now.
Spot on. And those instincts are still there, believe it or not, even in our modern brains. So next time you hit snooze instead of going for that run, you're not just being lazy, you're channeling your inner cave dweller.
I kind of love blaming my cave dweller. But seriously, I can't use that excuse forever. How do we actually rewire those ancient circuits for a bit more discipline?
Well, a lot of research points to the power of starting small, like ridiculously small.
Okay, I gotta hear.
Instead of an hour at the gym is 10 minutes. Instead of overhauling your whole diet, you swap one sugary drink for water. Just one.
So it's like tricking your brain into thinking, hey, this discipline thing isn't so scary after all.
You got it. Each time you hit those mini goals, your brain gives you a hit of dopamine, and that little reward system says, ooh, let's do that again.
Okay, I'm seeing how this works. Tiny changes, big rewards. But what about those times when even a tiny step feels huge? Like when procrastination has you in a chokehold.
Ah, that's where strategy comes in. We found some seriously cool techniques to outsmart that inner procrastinator. One that kept popping up in the research was the Pomodoro technique.
Pomodoro technique, right? Isn't that about working in those short bursts?
That's the one. So you focus on a task, usually for 25 minutes, then a short break, 5 minutes or so. Then you just keep repeating that cycle.
I've actually dabbled with that before. And it's crazy how much more I get done when I know a break is coming. Like, my brain can handle almost anything for 25 minutes if there's that reward waiting.
See, you're outsmarting those caveman instincts. But it's more than just a trick. The Pomodoro technique actually lines up with our natural brain patterns. We've got these built-in cycles of focus and rest.
So it's working with our brains instead of fighting against them.
Exactly. So instead of trying to power through for hours, which, let's be honest, rarely works, we break those bigger tasks into smaller bite-sized pieces.
Makes sense.
And that whole idea of breaking things down, that's key to another strategy we found. Remember how we talked about willpower being a limited resource?
Yeah, like it runs out.
Exactly. And one way to make it last longer is to plan for those weak moments. When you know you're going to be tempted.
Oh, you mean like when it's been a crazy day and all I want is takeout and Netflix?
Exactly. So instead of relying on willpower in those moments, which usually doesn't end well, you set yourself up for success ahead of time.
Okay, so we're being strategic about willpower now.
Think of it like this. One of our sources called it pre-commitment. It's like making a decision in advance when your willpower is strong, so that later, when you're drained, you're more likely to stick with it.
So instead of waiting until I'm exhausted after work and then trying to make a healthy meal,
You prep your meals on the weekend when you've got the energy.
mind blown. It's like I'm giving my future self a helping hand. And future me needs all the help they can get.
And it's not just about outsmarting those moments of weakness. It's about tapping into your motivation, especially when you feel like giving up. That's where having a strong why comes in.
Oh, so it's not enough to just want something. You got to know why you want it?
Exactly. It's like saying, I want to write a book versus I want to write a book because I have this story to share that I think could really help people.
Wow. Yeah, there's a big difference there.
When things get tough, and they will go tough, you need that deeper purpose to keep you going.
It's like having that internal compass, right? To guide you when you feel lost.
You got it. But sometimes, even with the best intentions, even with a strong why, we need a little help to stay on track. That's where accountability comes in.
Oh, tell me about it. Sometimes just knowing I should do something doesn't make me do it.
It's true for most of us. Having that external support can be a game changer. Maybe it's an accountability partner, a coach, or even just being part of a community of people working towards similar goals.
It's like having your own personal cheer squad, right? To keep you going when the going gets tough, because it does.
And that's exactly when those small wins can make a huge difference. Like, did you resist that donut? That's a win. Did you stick to your writing schedule? Major win. Celebrate it.
It's so true. It's easy to get caught up in what we haven't done yet and forget to look back at how far we've come.
Right. Those small victories, they add up,
Mm.
and they create this positive feedback loop that reinforces those good habits. It's like you're giving yourself a high five every time you make a choice that gets you closer to your goals.
I love that visual.
Mhm.
Okay, so we've covered starting small, being strategic, motivation, finding support. It's a lot. But one thing that keeps coming back to me is discomfort. Because building discipline, it often means doing things that just feel hard, at least at first.
Such a good point. And that's where I think a lot of people get stuck. They think discomfort means they're doing it wrong, so they quit. But what if we could change how we see that discomfort?
Ooh, okay. How do we go from, ugh, this is hard, to bring on the challenge?
One of the things we read compared it to working out. Think about the first time you try a new workout, right?
Oh,
It's going to be tough. Your muscles are sore, you're out of breath, but that's just a sign you're pushing your limits, getting stronger.
so instead of being afraid of that feeling of, I don't wanna, we should see it as a sign that we're actually growing.
Exactly. It's like building a muscle. The more you work it, the stronger it gets.
Yeah.
And the more you face those moments of this is hard, the more resilient you become.
Such a good way to look at it. It's like we're not fighting against discipline, we're actually making it work for us.
Yes. And you have the power to choose that discomfort now for a better future. You challenge yourself, you grow, you create a life that you are proud of, one discipline choice at a time.
This is so inspiring. This whole deep dive into discipline has been amazing. So for our listeners who are ready to unlock their own inner superhero, what's the one thing they should take away from all this, the thing they can use today?
Building discipline, it's a journey, not a finish line.
Mm.
It's about those small steps every day and remembering why those steps matter. And when it gets tough, and it will, lean on your people, remember your why, keep that fire going.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And on that note, we'll leave you with this. What's one small step, even a tiny one, that you can take today to match your actions with your goals? Think about it. Keep diving deep, everyone, and we'll catch you in the next episode.